going on, everybody? Hello again and welcome back to another episode of the Welch Report with me, Jean-Luc Welch. Make some noise and clap it up, get excited wherever you are. We are back with another jam-packed episode covering the world of sports as we have the boxing and NBA world to cover specifically on today's episode. With the NBA playoffs keeping on rolling, we have one opponent in the NBA Finals who will face the Boston Celtics as it is reacting to the Boston Celtics and the win over the Indiana Pacers, Dallas, and the Timberwolves, with that series now at a 3-0 deficit for the Timberwolves and the Mavericks up 3-0. Will we see them close it out? What does this mean for the backcourt duo of Luka and Kyrie in the all-time rankings, as well as much more on this show? And of course, in the boxing realm, with Deontay and Zhang facing off in the 5v5 matchup between the Zone and Matchroom Boxing, Eddie Hearn versus Frank Warren. We'll talk about that if time allows. So again, we got a lot to cover in the world of the NBA, but we will cover everything that we can on this show. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the show, and please leave a like on the video, comment your thoughts and opinions, subscribe to the channel, and share the show with everybody that you know so we can keep on building up this empire of a channel together. I can't do this without your help, so thank you so much for all of your support and all of your gratitude and all of your views. Please keep on viewing, keep on liking, keep on commenting. I love debating, arguing, and just overall seeing what the thought process is of the fans of this show. So thank you so much for all of your interactions. But without further ado, forget all that stuff. We don't care about all those nights. See, we got stuff to cover in the world of the NBA first and foremost. So let's jump right into the world of basketball as we have the NBA Finals now set with at least one side of the bracket, with the Eastern Conference Finals champion now being the Boston Celtics. Yes, clap it up, or if you don't like them, well then it is just a very ominous, it's a oh no situation. It's a dire situation if you are not a Boston fan. But whatever side of the fence that you fall on, we have an Eastern Conference Finals champion. We have one opponent in the NBA Finals, and how they got there, well, was a very relatively easy road. Let's be perfectly honest. This was not an impressive run to the NBA Finals. Now, granted, well, before we even say anything, understand you can't control who you face. You just have to face who's in front of you. We get that. We get that. That is the norm when it comes to basketball and the sports world in general. You can't control what happens to the opponent. You can only control what happens to you and how you perform and how you produce on your end of the floor and as a team. With that being said, Boston Celtics, they have gotten to the finals with the easiest road possible. But it's no fault of their own. They just faced injuries left, right, and center. The most recent of which being Tyrese Halliburton on this Pacers squad, who I believe went down in game 3. Excuse me, I believe he went down in game 3. And they couldn't play for him within game 4. And it was a foregone conclusion. It seemed like this was a real cakewalk for the Boston Celtics. Nobody was really going to challenge the squad. Once the Bucks really got ousted and got seen as, oh my gosh, they died by the hands of the team killer and Doc Rivers, they were never able to recover. Well, it's up and it's done. There's no longer going to be any formidable matchup for Boston to get to the finals. It's just going to matter if they play their pace, play their way, and relatively if they can stay healthy, yeah, they'll probably get there. And most likely outside of anybody in the East, let alone in the West, only a couple teams in the West could really be seen as a viable option to beat them. Now, held up their end of the bargain. But this brings up a whole slew of other conversations, even regarding this win. We want to say, oh, they haven't been tested. Well, let's pump the brakes. Even though they haven't been tested in this playoff run as a whole consistently, understand, even with them, if they had everybody in their radar healthy, if they did play against them, they still probably would have gotten to the finals. They still probably would have won. Still probably would have beaten the Miami Heat. Still probably would have won second round, would have beaten the Pacers, irregardless of whether Halliburton was healthy or not, because Halliburton was healthy. And still, they had him up 2-0 by the time game 3 came around. So it's like, we saw this coming down the pipe for the Boston Celtics. If at least Tatum and Brown were able to stay healthy, and the relatively rest of the roster was able to avoid injury, this is what we expected. This is not a surprise. The real question for this team comes down to internally. What is this team going to be when it comes to their leader, specifically Jayson Tatum. Why do I bring this up? Jayson Tatum did not win conference finals MVP out in the East. It was Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown averaged 29.8 points, just about rounding up 30 points a game, 51% from the field, 37% from three. Again, average I believe 3 rebounds, 4 assists, just about on the entirety of the run, which is ironic because if you look at the numbers, at least statistically, Jayson Tatum was doing more on the floor, though they played relatively as many minutes. He believed he had more rebounds, had more assists, had all of it. However, it was still Jaylen Brown winning conference finals MVP. And it's a question that really needs to be asked as to what is Jayson Tatum going to be for this Celtics squad now going back to the NBA Finals on their redemption road from their I forget it was 2021, 2022 loss to the Warriors when the Warriors came back and won their title when it seemed like all hope was lost. This is a time for Jayson Tatum to really show what he's about specifically, as well as for the entirety of this Boston Celtics roster. Because we've been seeing ever since the days of LeBron in Cleveland, when it was literally LeBron running the entire East, especially when LeBron was depleted with talent. After the Kyrie Irving trade and after the Isaiah Thomas injury debacle didn't pan out, everything was going through tossing and turning, had Kyle Korver and others, and still able to get to the finals, went through Jayson Tatum and the Boston Celtics. Ever since that point on, we have been saying that Boston is built for a finals run. Boston is built to win. Boston is built to reign in the East. Yet they haven't done it. Yet it hasn't come about. One of the biggest reasons why was because of Jayson Tatum, at least in my estimation. Maybe not yours, but mine. Reason being was because it always seemed like in the biggest moments, when it came time for you to really lock in and do what you needed to do, you as Tatum never produced like you needed to. You never came up in the same elite way that you did in the regular season. And it was all because you got outplayed. Either you were making dumb mistakes or you got outworked and you just couldn't perform as a whole. Even in this Pacers run, even in this Pacers series, when you beat them 4-0, let's not forget that game tying shot that Jaylen Brown hit, Jayson Tatum missed. I believe Jayson Tatum was the one that missed the first time they were trying to tie it up and take and save that game. On top of that, in overtime, Jayson Tatum for about 3 minutes in that overtime period was abysmal. 2 turnovers in less than a minute, missing shots left, right, and center, couldn't hit anything, was causing his team not only to get, to lose momentum, but to lose a majority of that overtime period with the Pacers. That's what happened. It's the truth. Yes, he ended up scoring 6 points at the end of that overtime period. Celtics, again, inevitably won that game, but that didn't change the fact that he was, for the majority of that overtime, playing abysmal. When it came for him never to be called, was not able to produce. People may overlook that because, oh my gosh, look at him. He's 6'10". He can shoot. He can drive. Oh, he's incredible. He is incredible. Jayson Tatum is a star. Jayson Tatum is somebody that can be a top 10 player in the league. Yes, he can. And many people have him as top 10 player in the league. Me, I have him at 11th. I have him at 11th behind AD, and I have him at 11th behind a healthy Kawhi Leonard. Now, granted, if you think that health is a major factor and that Kawhi shouldn't be in the running because he normally isn't healthy for the majority of the time he's on the floor, okay, fine. I'll give you that. Even still, would have to beat out Anthony Davis. And I think Anthony Davis had a better year than Jayson Tatum had this year. So, no, I think he is a fringe top 10 player in the NBA, but he can elevate to that level. No doubt about it. We've seen him do it. We know this. But the problem is he hasn't been able to do it when the moments count the most. Specifically when it comes to a finals level opponent, or rather a finals level stage. And when he should have outclassed and outbeaten his opponents last time he was in the finals, like with the Warriors. Celtics were the better team in that finals. Yes, they were. Celtics had the better amalgamation of talent, top to bottom, bench depth, all the way to starting rotation. They could defend the Warriors, they could guard the Warriors, they could outscore the Warriors. They had height, they had size, they had interior presence, and they had rebounding, and they had shooting. They had everything you would need to be able to nullify what was then the seemingly, from what we knew them as, the depleted vestiges of what we knew as the dominant Warriors dynasty. That's the truth. That team should not have gotten to the finals, let alone have won it. They shouldn't have, but they did. It's the testament to Steph Curry. And he came up big in that series. And it's testament to what he does as a leader for the entirety of that team. And just the team as a whole. They were able to get what they used to have in that 2015-2016 era of basketball and bring it back. They did it. Hey, more power to them. Props to them. But when Jayson Tatum was in that finals, when he had the better roster, and all he had to do to take this team over the top was to play like the superstar that he had been in the regular season, and he didn't do it, begged a lot of questions. And still, those questions are still impending to this day on him in his career. Are you really going to be the best man on the floor? Because we've seen countless times, like with the Pacers series, Jayson Tatum has not been the best player on this team. And has not been the most valuable player on this team. It has been Jaylen Brown. I've been saying this for a couple years now. Whenever it comes down to numbers, cool. Tatum's got it. When it comes down to when it's time to win, some reason or another, it's never Tatum that I'm seeing as the main antithesis for why this team is able to succeed. The main catalyst, the main outright objective placeholder for this is the cornerstone of our success. It's never been him. It seems like it's never him when the moments are biggest. Finals got outplayed by Jaylen Brown the entirety of the season. Had one of his worst series in his career in that finals run against a team that he should have been able to dominate against because he's 6'10" with a great shot from behind the arc and can drive when he wants to, like some of the best in the league. Offensively, he shouldn't have been held to that level of ineptitude, but he was against a team that, with respect to him, should not have been able to stop him. They shouldn't have been able to stop Jayson Tatum. And it shouldn't have been that Jaylen Brown, the brother who at that time was more relegated to only being a right-hand bandit, can't dribble with his left at that point in time, was abysmal going left. Still was able to put up better numbers and still was able to be the catalyst for why those games were close more than Jayson Tatum. This is the problem with Tatum. Your teammate, who's supposed to be your running mate, is being the front man for your squad. Whenever it comes down to who has the biggest impact, who is causing this team to win, who is causing this team to thrive, when it comes to the playoffs, who is causing this team to be able to get victory or rip victory out of the hands of defeat, it's never you. Seems like it's never you. It seems like it's Jayson Tatum seemingly shrinking. Jaylen Brown elevating. I've never had anything bad to say about Jaylen Brown in the playoffs during this elite tenure that the Celtics have been on. He's been consistent. If anything, he's outplayed or overplayed what we normally see him as in the regular season. Jayson Tatum is not the same way. He continues to underperform to that level of ability that we keep saying that he has at his disposal. Continually. That is his problem. And he never seems to get fixed. Never seems to get right. It never seems to be something that we can consistently hold Tatum to in terms of the standard of excellence that we see you have in the regular season, even in the early rounds of the playoffs. When the playoffs get deeper, you never amount to what we see you as. You always fall under the expectations that we have of you based on what you are as a player, based on what your talent is, based on where your standing is on this team, which is not only the best player, but you should be the leader outright. It's not you. It's Jaylen Brown seemingly. Every single time. Seems like Brown is a guy that keeps on outshining the biggest star on the squad. And if they want to win this finals, whoever it may be, whether it's the Timberwolves or Dallas, and we're going to get to that series next, it's got to be Tatum being the man that takes hold of being and thriving as the best player on the team. As the one and only elite, not one and only elite star, but the one major catalyst. As I am the biggest difference maker. I'm the guy that can give you 30 and 8, 30 and 10, 30 and 9, and 9 on his best nights. He can do that. Yes, he can. The problem is he doesn't. Even though Tatum averaged 30 this series, phenomenal. You wouldn't have guessed it, would you? No, you wouldn't have. His brother had 30 on the series, absolutely. But he shot about 47% from the field. Almost sub 30 from three. Taking the most shots on the entirety of the team. That's no. Again, Jaylen Brown shot 51%, 37% from three. More efficient, more effective, and still put up nearly 30 points a game. Just about 30 points a game. We might as well round it up. Might as well round it up. He was incredible this series. We felt the difference that Jaylen Brown made. Jayson Tatum, we saw it, but we didn't feel it. It was a surprise when it was like, oh my gosh, he had 30. Wow, that's incredible. That's what I was saying when I saw Jayson Tatum having great scoring nights. Not because I didn't think he was a great scorer, but because it was almost, I don't want to say inconsequential, but it just felt not nearly as impactful. Didn't have that umph to it. Didn't have that feeling of, oh man, this is a loud 30. And again, KD, he'll give you a quiet 30 any day of the week. He'll all of a sudden you look up, he's got 20 by halftime. He's incredible. But it's still, you feel that, oh shoot, oh my gosh. He's got 30. You look at the score, you look at the scoreboard. Oh yeah, he's got 30. Oh, it feels, looking up at the game, yeah, he's got 30. I didn't realize he got it so easily. But my gosh, yeah, that scoreboard's telling the story. Yeah, he's got 30. You feel the momentum. He's got 30. Oh my goodness. That's what KD, other elite stars, are able to do. You feel their impact when they achieve and accomplish their job on the floor. When they do what they're supposed to do and play up to the level that we know they can play, you feel it. I don't feel it with Jayson Tatum. I feel it more with Jaylen Brown. Though I know Jayson Tatum is the better player. Though I know he can do more. Though I know he's more versatile. Though I know he can be a good defender. Though I know he can be a guy that can give you 50. He can. He absolutely can. The problem is we haven't seen it from him. Haven't seen it from him on this level of impactful consistency. When it always feels like it's his running mate that's running the show. In terms of leading the game, leading and bolstering the squad to be something. That's just how I feel whenever I watch this Boston Celtics team play. But when this finals comes about, he's got to be the man. And I do mean the man to step up and make this happen. Because if he goes and plays like he did again in the NBA Finals in his first stint and has his running mate, Jaylen Brown, outplay him, then it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a real problem. Even with a potential fully healthy roster, if we see Porzingis get healthy and come back for that finals appearance. Even with a fully healthy roster at his disposal. Still, it could still lead to a downfall. Because it's not Jayson Tatum running the show when it needs to be him running the show. I need to feel like Jayson Tatum is controlling the game. Oftentimes, I don't. Not to the degree that I need from a number one superstar, from a top 10 player, somebody who's supposed to be one of the biggest impactors on the best team in the NBA. I don't want it to feel like with Devin Booker when it was, he was, I believe, fifth in MVP voting at one point in time. But his team was great. And it was like, oh my gosh. He's putting up 27, 5, and 5. But he's on the best team in the West at that point in time. My goodness. How could we not vote him? But in actuality, he wasn't having nearly the big impact on his squad as we voted him as. And oh man, maybe it was the team that was really surrounding him that was making him special. Not him as a whole. At that point in time, it was what? Yeah. That was the sentiment I had. That's the same sentiment I have now. Dayton's been great. He's been elite. I'm not taking away his talent. He is indeed great. Absolutely. Fringe top 10 player. My opinion, 11th best player in the NBA. It's just a matter of when it comes down to you performing like you need to perform. Where will you continue? When will you continue to have that sustained high level of play when it comes to this finals moment? And when it comes to a deep run in the playoffs, when your running mate is not feeling like a bigger impact on the game than you. That's what we can't have in this finals appearance from Tatum. Because if we do, now, we might see them falter again against whoever the opponent may be. speaking of whoever the opponent may be, going to the other side of the bracket with Dallas and the Timberwolves. My goodness. You want to talk about a dire situation. When we thought that we were seeing the Timberwolves coming out strong and being something incredible, now all of a sudden they're down 3-0 in the one game away from being eliminated entirely, with Dallas getting ready to book a trip to the NBA Finals. First time since 2011 with Dirk Nowitzki. Ironically enough, another EuroLeague star is paving the way and leading this team into another potential finals appearance. Looking like it's going to be outright. But this is a squad in terms of the Timberwolves, who we will touch on first. Timberwolves now have got a taste of what it really is to be an elite franchise, an elite team, let alone a finals contender. Because all this time, we were saying that they look great. Oh my gosh, they're putting it together. Best defense in the NBA. One of the best stars in the NBA in Anthony Edwards. Cat, who's been playing phenomenal. Rudy Gobert, another defensive player of the year. Jaden McDaniels, we can go down the list. Naj Reid, six-man player of the year, playing phenomenal. We get that, the pieces look great. They're young, they're spry, and they look like they have some real potential to upset some people. Next thing you know, go and take the Suns' soul. Go and take out KD. Take out Devin Booker. Oh, this team is legitimate. Now they're going to play Dallas, and they look like a shell of themselves. They look like let's be perfectly honest.
Hey, look at this! We got some problems here. We got some problems here.
I could not have said it better myself, JR. I couldn't have said it better myself. We have some problems when it comes to the Timberwolves. They are tired. They are drained. They can't keep up. They're out of it. That's what we can really say. They are out of it. This is a team that they just don't have the gas tank to fight late in this championship run that they're trying to get on. They don't have the gas tank. They don't have the stamina to last in the championship rounds. This is what it takes to be a champion. Playing all these games, having all this competition, playing defense at that high of a level that they play in terms of Timberwolves takes a major toll. And we're seeing that toll on nobody bigger than Anthony Edwards. That brother is so incredibly tired. He can't shoot for nothing. He can't play for nothing. Not because he doesn't have the ability, but because him chasing around Kyrie Irving all series long while calling out Kyrie Irving is a draining task. After, again, going through the Suns, going through the first round, after playing so hard for so long, taking the marquee matchups, being one of the primary defenders, it takes a toll. And if you're not prepared for it, you will get laxed. That's what we're seeing. They ran, or not ran, because the series ain't ended yet. Play tonight. This could be it. But this is a time when we're looking at this Timberwolves squad and saying they just aren't built for this physicality in terms of the stamina game that this game has to offer. The stamina matchup. Luka's playing right as rain. Kyrie and Luka are taking turns, dominating on the offensive end of the floor. You have Derek Lively, you have Gafford playing their roles exceptionally well. This is what we needed, this is what the Timberwolves needed when it came to their growth as an organization. They have the foundation, have the youth, they have the star, two stars you can build around and build upon. Inside game and outside game, Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns. Phenomenal. And you got the defense, something that many teams have to wait until they get. There is a solid foundation there. Problem is you don't have the experience nor the physicality built to be able to go and achieve what your potential can do. You got gas, you got taken in deep waters. Comparing this to a fight, you got taken into deep water. You got drowned. You got taken out. You swam too far. You don't got a lung capacity to swim back. You're getting hit in the body and you can't take it. You got a brother who's running around the ring and you can't catch him. You don't have the gas tank. This is what we can say. It's similar to what we've seen from Jordan in his early tenure as evolving into the mega star that he was. In the growth of Michael Jordan, we saw him go up against the Bad Boy Pistons. Never got a leg up on it up until Bad Boys were about to, again, disband. And everybody got older. People started leaving. Until that point, Bad Boy Pistons were running the NBA. Back-to-back champs, dominated in terms of the series that they played against. They bullied them, bullied Jordan, dominated Jordan, got him out of there. Jordan never had a winning record against Isaiah Thomas, if I remember correctly, during their prime. And it's because Jordan wasn't built for the Detroit Pistons. He wasn't built for what that brand of basketball had to offer. He had to grow. He was not built for the physicality that was due. Anthony Edwards is not built for the physicality that's due in the NBA. In terms of the stamina game, with Jordan, it was strength. With Anthony Edwards, it was gas tank. It was stamina. It was lasting the rounds, lasting the fight, lasting the run in the playoffs. You can have a dominating performance, but can you sustain that as the fight gets longer and longer? As the playoff runs get deeper and deeper, what can you do? This is one of the earliest and deepest runs that we've seen from Anthony Edwards in his career. He's never been this far into the playoffs. Ever. This is a different brand of stamina that we're seeing taking hold. He can't shoot. He can't shoot because he's tired, but he's relegating himself to only taking jump shots because he's too tired to try to drive into the paint. It's everything about him and the rest of the squad just is not built right now to be able to last the test of time when it comes to the stamina game in the playoffs. On the other side, end of the spectrum, you got Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic absolutely playing for them. These two people are playing absolutely out of their minds, taking turns, dominating. Each of them can put up 33 to 40 every single game like they did in their last game. Just an outright incredible brand of basketball. They understand how to pace themselves. They understand how to make the game play to their own strengths and speed. They have the ability to be able to turn this game into their own hands, changing the momentum by controlling the pace, controlling the ball, controlling the flow. With the rest of the organization, again, in terms of the team, doing what they're supposed to do, makes it so that when it comes time for us to make our play, we know exactly what can be done. And even I was a detractor of Luka Doncic, saying that maybe he was holding the ball too long in the offensive sets. But now, I see why they were doing it, because it worked to perfection. That brand of basketball that everybody says is hindering the rest of the offensive players. Look at what it's doing look at what it's doing. Just look at what it's doing to this best defense in the NBA. Look at what it's doing to the defensive player of the year. Having him on skates in terms of Rudy Gobert. It's insane. This in terms of Luka and Kyrie as a duo are absolutely incredible. They're phenomenal. They are the quintessential 1-2 punch that you need to have experience and youth on their side. Kyrie with the one being experienced, getting to the finals, winning the finals, having that atmosphere, being there and understanding what it takes to win. And Luka being the better talent and the leader on this squad in terms of on the floor, the guy controlling the game, and the other guy that can say, hey, do this instead and we'll be even better. Dominance and experience combined into one. That's what Kyrie and Luka have. You need a bucket, just outright give it to Kyrie Irving. You need to facilitate, get some people open, throw some lobs, get deceptive passes to get your shooters out, spread open. Give it to Luka. Kyrie can do the same thing. Literally, the roles can reverse for whichever the opponent or whichever the team decides is the best course of action. We've seen Kyrie be able to play off ball, make and chase him. We've seen Luka be able to lull and take advantage of the tiredness of the opponents because they're now willing to switch so much. Now he gets any match that he wants. He's able to just lull them to sleep. Either step back on him or get to the hole. There's nothing they can do. This is a lesson for Anthony Edwards in what it takes to be a champion and a real contender. What it takes to have not just the mental fortitude, because you're game. Anthony Edwards called him out. Anthony Edwards called out Kyrie. Something that we love to see. Anthony Edwards wanted the match. He wanted the best of the best to lock him up. I'm glad he's got that mentality. And now he sees what it takes to have that mentality now turn into a successful outing. The mentality that you have is what you need, but the production is what matters. The mentality can get you to bring and breed that level of production, but it still all falls on production. And when it comes to Anthony Edwards and the rest of this Timberwolves squad, the mentality that you can take on anybody is there. But now you understand what it takes to put the production into its rightful use, or rather, how to produce in that mental state. Because you can think you want to beat somebody, but how you actually do it, now you're learning what it takes to actually get to that level. Just because you got the drive doesn't mean you have the ability. But the drive can lead to you getting the ability. Because now the drive allows you to learn and master what you need to master. When it comes to this squad on the Timberwolves, they can master their ability to turn into a real contender. Because they already have the drive instilled in them. And now they see what it takes to be a real championship threat. It takes the mental fortitude to take on any challenge, and it takes on the ability to have a gas tank to go all 12 rounds in a fight. To get to this level of basketball, to get to this deep in the playoffs, and still have something else to give. That's what it takes. Because there is no love lost. There is no waiting period. Unless you sweep everybody and go 4-4-4 like the great Moses Malone said he was going to do. End up going 15-1 like Shaq and Kobe tried to do, again going 15-1. You've got to, unless you can sweep everybody, you got to be ready for the long haul. And even in sweeping everybody, that's still 4, 8, 12 games that you've played more than the regular season. Back to back to back in some situations. You can't, hey, it takes a different level of mental fortitude and physical stamina to be able to still produce what like you can in the early rounds of the playoffs. Like we were seeing earlier on when Ant was putting up 30, when Ant was putting up 35, when everybody on that team was producing and performing. Phenomenal. Takes more than just drive. Now you see it takes stamina. Now you see it takes experience. Now you see it takes a different level of not only a mental gear, but a physical toll that your body has to be able to withstand. This is what Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves now have learned from Luka. And because of that, like with Jordan and Detroit, they can come back stronger. They can be a real threat, especially with Anthony Edwards. Because I guarantee you this. If today is the last day that we see that Anthony Edwards play in the season and the Timberwolves do get swept, mark my words, like with either Jordan against Boston when he got swept or Jordan against Detroit when he got bullied, he is going to learn, he is going to grow, and when he comes back next season, it's going to be a different animal. It's going to be different. Anything that we've seen from this version of Anthony Edwards, it's going to be out. It's going to be insane. It's going to be phenomenal. Hopefully the other teams are going. Hopefully everybody else produces and also improves. But strictly with Anthony Edwards, that brother's going to come back. Similar to what we saw with Jordan when he came back in to Detroit. After he bulked up and grew and finally got over. After he took time to make his body built for where his mental game and mental state was and what it actually took to get through that hump and that hurdle. Yeah, that's what we're going to see for Anthony Edwards. We're going to see a physical shift in this brother entirely. We already look at this man as a big, strong dude. Next season, it's going to be a different monster with the gas tank to boot. He'll be able to run full octane for the entirety of games without any stamina loss at all. I guarantee you. We're going to see another elevation of Anthony Edwards evolve into a better player, a stronger player, a faster player, a more determined player than ever before. We're going to see a marquee shift in the trajectory of Anthony Edwards. I promise you that. because he's got that mental capacity. He just needed to be shown where you needed to grow. Now that he was shown where to grow, mark my words, he's going to come back as a different beast. He's going to come back as a different monster in the NBA. And that Timberwolves season is really going to be something incredible to watch. Again, it's relegated to what everybody else is going to be able to do. But him specifically, it's going to be insane. Also, keeping with the Timberwolves entirely, we're going to get to Dallas right after this. Specifically with the Timberwolves on this last point. When it comes to the Timberwolves and their vaunted defense, this is one of the marquee things that I hated about this defensive aura surrounding this Timberwolves squad. And it was Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, tying the likes of, I believe, Ben Wallace and Dikembe Mutombo. Believe potentially has more than Hakeem Olajuwon, which is ridiculous if that is true. But the point with Rudy Gobert, as a player, Rudy Gobert is nowhere close to as valuable as his accolades say that he is. Because he is indeed an elite star. Oh, no doubt about it. He is indeed somebody who can be an elite rim protector. No, that's not unquestionable. The problem is, and this is where stuff gets scary, his defensive game does not outweigh his offensive output, which is abysmal. He sucks, and his defense doesn't balance it out. As elite as his defense can be, no question. You know what separated him from people like Ben Wallace, from people like Hakeem Olajuwon, and other Defensive Player of the Year winners? It's the fact that the numbers look impressive, but it doesn't, with everybody else who was strictly defensive, it outweighed whatever their offensive liabilities was for the majority of the time. With Gary Payton, I believe he evolved into a better three-point shooter and a better scorer, but early on he was terrible offensively in terms of scoring, but it was his defense that, oh my gosh, this is what's allowing this Supersonic squad to really work. Once he hit his prime and his offense caught up, okay, boom. Now, hey, the defense is elite and the offense as well is great. It's good. With Rudy Gobert, it's a completely different story. He doesn't have the defensive ability to be able to balance out his offensive ineptitude. One of the biggest reasons why this team is struggling is because he cannot give you anything offensively, when he should be able to give you something offensively, going up against people like Gafford and Lively. Not because I'm disrespecting Gafford and Lively, because you're 7'1" with a wingspan to kingdom come. You don't have a drop step to your name? You mean to tell me, with all that height, you can't do anything offensively outside of catching lobs? That is just stupid on your part. That is your ineptitude to grow. How is it that we've seen you go up against Victor Wembanyama in the offseason, playing him 1v1, and we're seeing you pull out moves out of your bag, but yet when it comes to now in the NBA, you can't do a doggone thing? And if anything, Victor Wembanyama should have been Defensive Player of the Year, not you. For being completely honest, that is the wholehearted truth. He was a better defensive player, both on the perimeter, in my opinion, in the paint as well. Just because his team sucked doesn't mean that individually he was the de facto Defensive Player of the Year. Not just because, like Rudy Gobert, he was the best defensive player on the best defensive squad. No, objective to anybody. Rudy was not a better defensive player than Victor Wembanyama this year. Victor was stopping 1-on-3 breaks by himself and forcing three-pointers strictly by standing in the paint. That's it. Able to cover the perimeter, able to cover the outside. Wouldn't get cooked nearly as bad as we saw Luka cook Rudy Gobert on that game-winning shot. Talking smack to him left, right, and center. Rightfully so, because your buddy's a bum when it comes to guarding me. Defensive Player of the Year, yet you can't do this. You can't stop a three. You can't force me to drive. You're crossing your leg left and right like you're doing the salsa? That is terrible. That's abysmal. That's so stupid and bad on your part as a de facto defensive anchor. And this is not supposed to be, oh, he's a center. He's not supposed to be able to guard on the perimeter. No, we get that. But the problem is, you've touted yourself as somebody who is elite in all facets of defense. Yet continually, we see you get cooked constantly throughout your entire career. Yes, it's Luka. Luka will be able to cook anybody. I get that. But the very fact that you got switched on Luka and it was an immediate, shoot type of gasp, me screaming at my television, no, 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 when you got switched on to him, knowing what the outcome was going to be. Your own teammate, I believe Jaden McDaniels, was looking at you in disgust when you got switched on him because they weren't able to switch back because it was too late. They had to leave you on an island. It's a shame. Wouldn't have seen that from Anthony Davis. Wouldn't have seen that from Victor Wembanyama. Wouldn't have seen that from other great defensive big men. We wouldn't have. Or at least we wouldn't have felt that same level of, oh no, existential dread, outright dire straits. That's what we felt watching you. Because we knew what was going to happen. As a defensive player, you are not able to outweigh your offensive deficiencies. But that's even being too kind. You're not able to outweigh your offensive ineptitude. You are a bum on the offensive end of the ball. An absolute bum. You're a bum when it comes to the offensive game. You can't do anything when it comes to an offensive connotation. The fact that you hit a shot on the Nuggets was like Draymond Green hitting a three. Now, it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, we're definitely going to lose. There's no way, because he's a bum at that aspect. Draymond Green's a bum at shooting. Rudy Gobert's a bum at everything offensively. It's an absolute tragedy that we're consistently seeing you being one of the biggest reasons why your team is struggling, because you can't take any offensive load for yourself, even when you have a mismatch. That's the problem. Easy buckets, you can't score. Getting to the line, you can't shoot. You can't pass out when you're double. And when you have a mismatch, again, you can't take advantage of it. It's a pity and a shame. Hence why your defensive ability is nowhere close to should be seen as nowhere close to the level of what we've seen from other greats. Because you can't outweigh what you have in terms of offensively, which is nothing. Dikembe Mutombo was able to outweigh it. You had people like Ben Wallace, way better defender than you, who deservedly was a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. And his defense was one of the marquee things that identified an entire squad, was the cornerstone of that Detroit Pistons squad. Without him, they wouldn't have been nearly the defensive monster that they were. You can sub in a couple players in Rudy Gobert's position. They still would have been a great defensive team. His defense is not as substantial as his awards say that it is. It is not it's nowhere close to the level of high capacity that we see it as, or that other fans see it as, due to the accolades of being a defensive player of the year. No, it's horrible. It's terrible. And it should not be happening. Yet it is. You are a bum if you're Rudy Gobert. You're horrible. We clown you not just because you were one of the biggest detractors of COVID, and evidently you helped bring it along, but also because you've had stupid instances like that in and outside the basketball court continually. Specifically, on the basketball court, you've been stupid because you just can't play. You can't. When it comes to offensively, you can't play. And your defense doesn't outweigh what you do offensively. How is it that you're elite in a facet, yet still it doesn't feel like it? How is it that you're elite in a facet, yet when the chips fall, you still somehow come up as one of the biggest liabilities? Doesn't make sense. But it's you. That's the problem. It's you. That's why it doesn't make sense, because it's you. You're the one that's causing all of this confusion. Because as the cornerstone of somebody who's on the best defense in the league, you feel like one of the biggest detractors. When it comes down to you have to get benched to be able to actually have a chance, that's bad. That's bad. That is horrible. Absolutely terrible. And you're playing like a bum. That's the main thing we can say. You are playing like a bum. And You're one of the biggest reasons why. If this team loses and gets swept, it's because of you. One of the biggest reasons why is because of you. It's because of you. You got out rebounded. You've been, honestly, you do nothing that you've done in this series has been worth anything. Nothing. It really hasn't. It really hasn't. From my eyes, I could be wrong. Please tell me in the comments, absolutely. But I haven't seen anything that you've done that's been actually of note, worthy of praise. Because it's not. Because you've been playing like a bum. It's just the nature of the beast. You've been playing like a bum. You're the main reason why this team is where they are. You're the main reason. One of the main reasons why. This team's about to get swept. Pity and a shame. But going with Dallas, now that they're looking like they're going to play against Boston, if they win again, we have to have a conversation about who's the best backcourt in the NBA. And honestly, it could be Kyrie and Luka. I don't really see anybody better than Kyrie and Luka backcourt. Again, point guard and shooting guard. Kyrie and Luka Doncic. I think they're the best backcourt in the NBA today. The only reason why I wasn't saying that earlier on in the past season when they were together was because they hadn't clicked like I've been waiting on them to click. There was a moment when I was waiting on, okay, if this team comes together, Luka and Kyrie can be lethal. An absolutely insane offensive force. However, once they really click, that's when, if it ever happens, that's when we're going to see whether or not this is a really good dynamic duo or just a pipe dream of it looks good on paper, but it doesn't actually pan out. We've seen that before with other rosters. We've seen that before with other backcourts. We've seen that before with other stars in the NBA that team up. Looks like it should be something incredible, yet it doesn't pan out at all. We know that to be a fact that can happen in the NBA. But with this squad, they hit their stride, and they have been going guns blazing, nigh unstoppable. And they are the best backcourt in the NBA in my estimation. But now we had to start transcending that, because since they've hit their stride, now that we see what they can be really together, gelling and working, let's be perfectly honest, I think that Kyrie and Luka are the top 3 best backcourt that the NBA has ever seen, in my estimation. Better than people like Chris Paul and James Harden, though for that point in time, Chris Paul and James Harden were phenomenal. I mean, were absolutely insane. Led one of the best shooting teams in NBA history. With Chris Paul and James Harden playing at that point in time. James Harden still at an MVP level, and Chris Paul still at the tail end of his prime. Was great. No doubt about it. However, I don't think they were better. Bob Cousy and Sam Jones, with respect to them, I think Kyrie Irving and Luka's better. Though they won multiple, I believe 5 championships together. They were phenomenal. That duo for that point in time. But Luka and Kyrie are way more talented in my estimation. Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker. Great. Insane duo as a backcourt. Insane. But again, as a talent, I think that Luka and Kyrie are better talent-wise. Though they won, again, 5 championships. Stay together through the majority of the entirety of their prime. Ginobili coming off the bench, dominating. Tony Parker, multi-time All-Star, Finals MVP, again, dominating. With Tim Duncan at the helm. One of the best backcourts that the NBA's ever seen. But I think Luka and Kyrie are better. It's hard to really go and say there's a lot of backcourts that are really better than this squad. It really is. Even Byron Scott and Magic Johnson, as great as they were, winning multiple championships, within this team, Byron Scott leading the team in scoring. Still, Kyrie and Luka as a tandem are better than them. They are top 3. And I think they're the 3rd best tandem backcourt that we've seen in NBA history from a talent perspective. There are relatively few teams or few duos that have had this much offensive ability and collective skill sets at this high of an level across the board. Luka, MVP candidate, arguably a top 5 player in the NBA right now, putting up 33, 34 points a game while averaging 9 assists, playing like the modern day version of Larry Bird. Insane. He's going to win an MVP one day. This is going to happen. It's going to happen. It is going to happen. Has been cooking the entirety of the league. making everybody look foolish. And then you got Kyrie Irving, one of the most well-rounded offensive point guards that this game has ever seen. Literally can give you 50, 40, 90 on any shot available. Doesn't matter. He is a lethal weapon, a surgical knife. And they can trade off positions on how they want the offense to run on a night in, night out basis. The combined offensive, just outright wall of talent that they bring to any opponent is nigh impossible to beat. You cannot stop them. Both of them. Individually, they are unstoppable. You could break up Tony Parker and Montes Ginobili, and one of them is going to struggle at some point. You could break up Magic and Byron Scott. Byron Scott's going to struggle. You could break up whatever tandem, Chris Paul and James Harden. This a little bit higher in terms of the offensive skill set, but inevitably, most likely, Chris Paul's going to be the one to struggle a little more at that point in time, relative to where they were in their player talent at the point when they were teamed up with Chris Paul and James Harden. Chris Paul was going to struggle more. You break up Kyrie and Luka, they're not going to struggle. In terms of individual, they're not going to struggle. They're still going to be able to give you 25, 26 a game. Dominate. 27 if you're Kyrie. 33, 34 if you're Luka. By themselves. That's what they can do. That's what they bring to the table. You can't stop the squad. There's only two people that are better than, or two duos that are better than. Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars, and Stephen Clay. That's it. Those are the only two squads that I see as better duos with each other. Better backcourts. That's it. Joe Dumars and Isaiah Thomas and Clay and Steph. Joe Dumars and Isaiah Thomas, because one, won championships. Two, both were defensive greats, legitimately. All defensive teams, both of them. And both of them could give you buckets. Joe Dumars was a dominant scorer before he came to the Detroit Pistons. And Isaiah Thomas was one of the best players in the league. Arguably was at one point in time the best player in the league when he won those titles back to back. Had rightful claim to the throne if he said, yeah, I'm the best right now. Even over Larry Bird, even over Magic Johnson. He was running the league at that point in time for 2 years. Back-to-back champs. Was the man to overcome Jordan. Was the man to lead one of the most infamous squads in NBA history. He was a dog, and him and Dumars were dogs in their own right. Utterly incredible what they were able to do together. Menaces on both sides of the floor. Dumars could give you buckets any way, shape, or form. IT could do the exact same thing, and both of them were elite defensively. And if they do win a championship, my gosh, will it move them up in the rankings or not? I'll have to think about that to make sure. But I'll tell you this. If Luka wins a championship and finals MVP with Kyrie this year, talk about something incredible. Because that would bring, the storylines that would bring as a whole would be insane. Jayson Tatum going up against Luka, who could potentially be the new face of the league. That's what the argument's going to be. Again, I think the face is still coming up to be Victor Wembanyama, because that brother has been insane. And once he hits his stride, oh yeah, he's going to be a monster. He's going to be a monster. And right now, the face of the league is still LeBron James. But the next, who's coming up, I think it's Victor Wembanyama. But who's going to be firmly in that mist after this series? Tatum or Luka. Somebody's going to elevate. On top of that, Kyrie going to Boston. If they win, Kyrie going to Boston to face off against the team that he left when he said that he would stay, who the team still and the fans still have hated him ever since. And them racist folks over in Boston are going to be absolutely livid to see this brother back in the final, let alone playing against him on their own floor. Oh, it's going to be a monster. It's going to be insane. One of the best backcourt in the West versus the best front court in the East, with Tatum and Brown versus Luka and Kyrie. You got Porzingis, who was on Dallas, the original OG duo with Porzingis and Luka that was supposed to be another championship contending team. Then he got shipped off. Now he's playing in Boston. Now he's in the finals, potentially going to go up against the team that traded him away because they said, oh, you're not working. He could have some animosity towards them. A friendly but budding rivalry between Luka and Porzingis as, oh, okay, here we meet again. And they're under different circumstances. There is a lot going on with this team, with these teams, if they do face each other. Because again, series hasn't ended with Dallas, but most likely it's going to. If we see Dallas and Celtics, my gosh, talk about a barn burner of just emotions. It's going to be insane. Kyrie potentially getting his ring without LeBron. Still, it would be as second fiddle or a Batman, or as a Robin instead of a Batman, like he tried to be Batman when he left Cleveland in the first place and went to Boston. But the point still stands. We could see him get a ring without LeBron James, elevating himself, elevating Luka, elevating both of their legacies. There's so much on the line. So much on the line. Tatum and Brown could potentially get his revenge on their finals loss, maybe not against the Warriors, but at least to redeem the fact that, we underplayed. Specifically, I underplayed. Let me right that wrong. Give me a chance at vindication. Oh, that's so much. That's so much. It's so much stuff. We'll be here to cover it all as it unfolds. Trust and believe. Because my gosh, it's going to be fun. It's going to be so much fun. But again, before we leave the show, we still got to talk about one more thing, and that is Deontay Wilder versus Big Bang Zhang in the 5v5 Matchroom versus the Zone. Frank Warren versus Eddie Hearn fight. And since we're talking about boxing, it is time to step into the ring. That's right. Ring the bell. Let's get it started. Round one of this show going underway as we have to discuss the matchup between Zhang and Wilder. What does it mean for these two fighting each other, and who, in fact, will win when it's all said and done? This is a very interesting fight for both of these men because both of these men are on the cusp of potentially their last legs. Again, Zhang's in a better position than Wilder. Wilder's in a more dangerous and desperation type position, but it's still a big fight for each. In the frame of Zhang first. Zhang is a brother who just lost to Joseph Parker in the last fight was in Saudi Arabia, in a fight that he should have won in terms of you had it in your hands, yet you let it go and gave the fight away because you weren't pounding on the pressure later on in the fight and allowed Joseph Parker not just to win rounds and get away from or the danger in the lull of you knocking him down twice, again, I believe in the first 3 rounds and then in the 8th round, and still you couldn't finish him. You didn't finish him. You coasted almost because you weren't able to finish your job because your gas tank still has something to be desired, which is terrible. But it's what cost you that victory and what cost you a potential next shot at a title if you're Big Bang Zhang. Now, going up and fighting Deontay Wilder, hey, this can put you firmly back in that position. You KO Wilder after Joseph Parker KOs Wilder after Joseph Parker beat you. A redemption story. A great redemption story. And a great way to get you back on track if you're Zhang, as to be a world champion. To be somebody who holds a belt around their waist and becomes not just Big Bang Zhang, the destructive force from China, but the destructive champion from China. Champion for your people, a champion for you and your family, making history. I believe the first Chinese heavyweight champion in the history of boxing. That could potentially be you if you go and take and do your due diligence and get this fight right, because this could be your last shot. You are getting older. I believe you're above 40 at this point. You're still fighting great, yes, but you need to you can't afford to lose another fight. You can't. If you do, incredibly hard. You got the talent to do it. Brother, it's going to be hard to climb a mountain that it took you so long to get to at least to be able to see the top of in the first place. And on the side of Wilder, you lost to Joseph Parker. You lost to Tyson Fury 3 times. You looked abysmal in your last fight with Joseph Parker. Absolutely, I mean, just a shell of yourself in the worst way possible. Almost like you didn't want to be there. You lose this fight, you are completely out of the heavyweight conversation in terms of championship aspiration. There's no more. No more. This is it. You lose to Zhang, who lost to Joseph Parker, who beat you. You're done. You're done. There's no more. You can fight for money, but you can't fight for a title. It will be no more. Absolutely not. Especially if you lose in the same fashion as you lost to Joseph Parker. Absolutely whitewashed. No, there's going to be no way to come back. In my estimation, no way. None whatsoever. You have to show that you are the bronze bomber role. At this point, just throw. That's all I'm asking. Just throw. If you can just throw, throw. That's the best I can ask from you. Because you tried to do something that was completely against your grain. Going against Joseph Parker. Fighting on the back foot. Fighting almost defensively. Trying to just land at the right hand, but not setting it up even with the jab. Just absolutely going and being a complete shell. A bronze statue, not a bronze bomber. That's how you fought. And it was almost embarrassing. Now, you go up against Zhang. You do that, you're going to get caught. And you're going to get caught. Because a couple of the shots that would have ended you from Joseph Parker were missing only because Parker wasn't at the same size as you. Let Zhang land a big left hand, on you. Or even land a hook like he landed against Joe Joyce. You're going out. You're going out. We know he's got the power to end you. Yes, he does. As you have the power to end him. Yes, you do. Because you're Deontay Wilder. You'll never question it. Your heart and your power are the two biggest things that hold you up and make you so dangerous. Understandable. But the problem is, now that you're going up against somebody who can crack, who is intelligent, who is elite, and who has hand speed and defense, it could potentially be a bad night for you. And we know how to defend against you, duck under the right hand like we saw Joseph Parker do, and pressure you. It's a dangerous game. Yes, it is. Because it's Deontay Wilder, of course. It's not a question. It's Deontay. Anybody that you face is going to be dangerous. But let's not get it twisted. Zhang can KO Deontay Wilder. Zhang can outbox Deontay Wilder. Zhang is a better boxer and a better fighter than Deontay Wilder. That is established. The equalizer is the power on the side of Deontay. But at the same time, Zhang is the equalizer of his own. Because if you can knock out Joyce, you can knock out Deontay. Absolutely. It's not a question. If you can put down Joseph Parker, something that Deontay wasn't able to do, you can put down Deontay Wilder if you're Zhang. There's a lot of danger for Zhang and Wilder. Zhang because of the known right hand. Yes, we get it. But it's going to be, if that doesn't land, what else does Wilder have when he gets pressure, especially going up against a southpaw? My gosh, with his already bad defense. Going up against somebody who can land a straight left right down the pipe. While Wilder is athletic, he gets pushed to the ropes and he misses that right hand when he rebounds off the ropes. My gosh. That left hand's coming. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. We can see Zhang again use his weight to weigh down the body of Wilder like we saw Tyson Fury do all those years ago. And again, drain the weaker or drain the skinnier, more lean, but not necessarily as strong fighter in Deontay Wilder. Conserving the gas tank of somebody like a Zhang so that if it does get into the later rounds, okay, you can actually last. You can actually move. You can actually defend for all 12 rounds if you're Zhang instead of getting gassed and getting tired. Because if Zhang gets gassed and gets tired, it's over. It's done. No, he's going to lose. He's going to get knocked out if he gets tired against Deontay. And he can get knocked out even if he's not. But if it's late in the fight, I got Wilder. If it gets late in the fight and I see Zhang getting tired, I got Wilder. If it's late in the fight and I see Zhang getting and still being cognizant and being available and having the stamina, then I got Zhang. That's really what this fight comes down to. If Zhang can keep up his stamina, or if Wilder and his right hand are able to land it. That's really what it is. If Zhang can't keep up his stamina, it's going to be Wilder by KO. If Zhang can keep up his stamina, I got Zhang by either unanimous decision and or knockout. If we see that Wilder is able to land early on Zhang and Zhang can't take it, okay, I got Wilder. Boom. Then it's what it is. Because we know that power is the ultimate equalizer. But if we see Zhang land on Wilder first and be the man to push the pace and make it so that Wilder can't use that right hand, now we got a situation where Zhang can win this. Zhang can definitely win this. He really can. And to pick this fight, part of me is saying pick Wilder. And the rest of me is saying pick Zhang. Because I know Zhang should win this. He should. But picking against Wilder with how not deceptively, because nothing deceptive about Wilder, with how destructive that he is, it's tough for me to pick against him because it's Wilder. Against a less agile, big target, and while he's good defensively, you can't block everything that Wilder throws at you. You can't. We saw Parker get out the way, duck and dodge and move. Zhang is a boxer who normally blocks and catches and shoots. He's elite at that. He's great at that. But going up against somebody like a Wilder with a blocking type defense, that is so if you can't move your head great, it's gonna be tough for you to beat him. Even with somebody as, again, rudimentary as Deontay Wilder, who is rudimentary. So I'm going to pick Wilder to win this by KO because of the fact that if we see Zhang not be able to move his head like he needs to and goes with catching and blocking everything, I'll pick Wilder. Strictly because you won't be able to block everything that Wilder throws at you. And if we see Wilder actually being aggressive and throwing punches, not being tedious, like we saw him against Joseph Parker, then I'll pick Wilder. But do not be surprised in the slightest if we see Zhang with his technical ability and his deceptively fast hands go and catch Wilder when Wilder comes and steps in for that right hand. That left hand going up against Wilder. When Wilder tried to step in, close the distance, throw that jab out and then go like that. If we see Zhang able to simply slip and shoot, or even catch and shoot, with that lengthy range of his and that hand speed that he's got, that can counter anybody in the division, Wilder's going out. Oh, this fight's ending in knockout. And whichever, I think, again, I'll pick Wilder because of the blocking style that I see Zhang use. Catching everything is a very dangerous task against Deontay. But if we see them trade and Zhang gets the better of him with that deceptive hand speed, he's able to get out the way of that right hand and land with his own left hand. That power is, Wilder's going to feel that Chinese power. Absolutely. As well as we could see Zhang feel the Alabama's hammer. No doubt about it. But I'm picking Wilder. As much as I feel like it's the wrong decision, I'm picking Wilder for the KO. And I think he's going to catch him through the guard because Zhang's head movement, it is good, but it's not rangy. He doesn't get out the way, out and about, just all the way. And if he miscalculates that in the slightest, he's going to sleep. So most likely he was going to block and try to catch what Wilder throws. And that's going to be detrimental. And I think he's going to get caught. But I'm not going to be shocked in the slightest because Zhang's one of my favorite fighters in the world. Love the way that brother fights. Just wish he had a gas tank. And if we see Zhang have a gas tank, take this to the later rounds, be able to lean and weigh on Wilder and have the ability to drain him of the stamina like we saw Fury do to Wilder a while ago. And then we see Zhang with that bolstered gas tank be able to go and pressure Wilder. Now we could see him knock him out. Either way, somebody's not getting up. Somebody's not getting up. Somebody's not getting up. It's going to be an incredible fight to see. But with that being said, this has been another episode of The Welch Report with me, Jean-Luc Welch. Again, clap it up for a phenomenal show. Please leave a like on the video, comment, thoughts, and opinions, subscribe to the channel, and share the show with everybody that you know so we can keep on building up this empire together. Again, I've been Jean-Luc Welch. Y'all have been wonderful. We still got more stuff to cover as time goes on. We will be here to cover everything that's happening in the sports world. Trust and believe. Keep on sharing the show. Keep on liking the show. Keep on subscribing. Make this show the hottest show in all the globe. Absolutely, and I can't do this without your help. So thank you for all of your support. So again, I've been Jean-Luc Welch. Y'all have been wonderful. Peace and love. We are out of here.